Imagine being lost in a dense, unforgiving swamp for 3 days, alone, disoriented, and in excruciating pain, not just lost, but missing an arm, torn away by the crushing jaws of a massive alligator. No food, no water, just raw survival instincts, fighting through agony with nothing but sheer willpower to escape the clutches of death. Sounds like something out of a nightmare, right? Well, for one Florida man, this wasn't a nightmare, it was reality. And his story is one of the most unbelievable tales of survival ever recorded. Stay tuned because you won't believe what happens next. Welcome back to Savage Tales, Animal Encounters, the channel where we dive deep into the wildest, most insane and downright jaw-dropping encounters between humans and nature's most fearsome predators. From terrifying survival stories to shocking wildlife battles, we bring you the raw, unfiltered and heart-pounding moments where the animal kingdom reminds us who's really in charge. Today, we're unraveling the mind-blowing story of Eric Merda, a man who survived an alligator attack, lost his arm, and then spent 3 whole days wandering through the merciless Florida swamp. How did he endure the pain? How did he find his way out? And most importantly, what lessons can we take from his story? Buckle up, because this is one savage tale you won't want to miss. But before we dive in, if you love insane survival stories, mind-blowing animal encounters and adrenaline-pumping tales from the wild, then do me a huge favor. Smash that like button and let YouTube know that you want more savage content. And hey, don't just stop there. Hit that subscribe button and join our growing tribe of adventure seekers, thrill chasers and wildlife enthusiasts. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Oh, and one last thing, make sure you ring that notification bell so you never miss an episode. YouTube's tricky sometimes, and you don't want our next savage tale to slip through the cracks. Got thoughts on today's story? Drop a comment below. Have you ever had a crazy animal encounter? Maybe you've seen gators up close? Share your wildest experiences. We want to hear from you. And of course, if you know someone who would be just as shocked, amazed, or horrified by this story as you are right now, go ahead and share this video with them. All right, strap in, because this is going to be a wild ride. Let's get into the unbelievable story of Eric Merda's fight for survival, right here on Savage Tales, Animal Encounters, where the wild fights back. It was a sweltering summer afternoon in Florida, the kind where the air hangs thick with humidity, and the sun beats down relentlessly from a cloudless sky. The stillness of the day was broken only by the occasional rustling of palm fronds and the distant chirping of cicadas, their rhythmic buzzing echoing through the dense vegetation surrounding Lake Manatee, a sprawling freshwater lake known for its murky waters and teeming wildlife, including one of Florida's most infamous apex predators, the American alligator. Eric Merda, a 43-year-old Sarasota native, had spent the better part of the day exploring the area. Whether it was a spontaneous decision fueled by the heat or just an adventurous spirit taking over, he eventually found himself near the water's edge. The lake's surface shimmered under the sun, deceptively calm and inviting, belying the dangers lurking beneath. With no immediate concerns, Eric decided to go for a swim. Maybe it was a way to cool off, maybe it was just another casual dip in the Florida wilderness, something locals had done for generations, despite the ever-present risk of gators. Whatever his reasoning, he waded into the water, the warm, silty liquid wrapping around him as he ventured further from the shoreline. The transition from land to water was seamless, his body buoyant, his mind likely at ease. As he swam, the world around him faded into an almost hypnotic state. The dense foliage of the swamp lined the distant shore, casting long, jagged reflections on the water's surface. His arms cut through the lake in smooth, effortless strokes, sending gentle ripples outward. The occasional splash of a fish breaking the surface disrupted the silence, but otherwise the environment seemed undisturbed. But beneath the water's glassy surface, something else was watching. Unbeknownst to Eric, he was no longer alone in the lake. The stillness of the water concealed a silent, lurking presence, a shadow gliding just beneath him. Predatory eyes locked onto him, unblinking, calculating. Every movement he made sent vibrations through the water, triggering the instincts of one of nature's most efficient hunters. Then, in an instant, everything changed. Just as Eric turned to adjust his direction, something shifted. A sudden, eerie stillness overtook the lake, as if the very air had thickened with anticipation. A creeping sense of unease prickled at the back of his neck. It was the kind of instinctive warning that humans, despite their modern disconnect from nature, could still feel deep in their bones. And then, without warning, the water exploded around him. The tranquility of the lake shattered in an instant. Without warning, the water beneath Eric Merda surged with violent force as a massive alligator erupted from the murky depths. It happened faster than thought, faster than reflex. 1 second he was swimming, the next he was in its jaws. A bone-crushing force clamped down on his right arm, an unbearable pressure unlike anything he had ever felt. The reptile's immense, jagged teeth tore through flesh and muscle, puncturing deep into bone. The pain was immediate, white-hot and electrifying, a searing, all-consuming agony that sent shockwaves through his entire body. He barely had time to react before he was yanked under. The lake, once a peaceful oasis, had become his worst nightmare. The world above vanished as the gator dragged him into the abyss. Water flooded his nose and mouth as he fought to hold his breath, his lungs already burning. The predator wasn't just biting, it was spinning. This was the death roll, the alligator's signature attack, designed to rip flesh from bone and incapacitate its prey. With brutal efficiency, the beast began twisting and rolling through the water, its powerful tail thrashing and sending up a chaotic whirlpool of bubbles and debris. Eric felt his body being twisted and contorted, his arm wrenched in directions it was never meant to go. He thrashed desperately, his instinct screaming at him to fight. Kicking wildly, he struggled to get his head above water to break free from the predator's relentless grip. But the gator was relentless. It continued its deadly roll, tightening its vice-like jaws with every twist. Then a sickening snap, a flash of blinding pain shot through him as his arm was ripped clean from his body. The sheer force of the alligator's rolling tore flesh, muscle and tendons apart as if they were nothing. Blood billowed into the water, turning it into a swirling crimson cloud. The gator, victorious, recoiled with its prize, disappearing into the depths as swiftly as it had attacked. Eric surfaced, gasping for air, his entire body trembling from shock and blood loss. The realization hit him like a tidal wave. His arm was gone. Where it had been, only a mangled, bleeding stump remained, the bone grotesquely protruding through torn skin. His survival instincts took over. He had to get out. Somehow, he managed to drag himself out of the water, collapsing onto the swampy bank, his body shaking violently. But the danger wasn't over. Far from it. He was in the middle of nowhere, deep in the unforgiving Florida wilderness, and nobody knew where he was. For the next 3 days, Eric endured pure agony. With no food, no water, and a severe, life-threatening injury, he wandered through the dense swamp, delirious from pain and exhaustion. Every step was a battle, every breath a struggle. Mosquitoes swarmed him, biting at his exposed flesh, while the swamp's thick mud made every movement a challenge. The Florida heat was unrelenting, the humidity suffocating. He screamed for help, his voice raw and hoarse, but the vast wilderness swallowed his cries. He was utterly alone, left to face the brutal forces of nature with only one arm and sheer willpower. Finally, on the 3rd day, he found his way to civilization. Weak, battered, and barely conscious, he stumbled onto a road where a passing driver spotted him and called for help. Emergency responders rushed him to the hospital, where doctors worked to stabilize him, amputating what remained of his shattered arm. As he lay in the hospital bed, the reality of what had happened set in. The arm he had relied on his entire life was gone. The attack had changed him forever. But rather than fall into despair, Eric saw his survival as a second chance. He had emerged from the swamp not just wounded, but reborn. And he would use his story to inspire others, proving that even in the face of unthinkable horror, the will to survive is stronger than fear. And there you have it, one of the most incredible and harrowing survival stories you'll ever hear. From the moment Eric Merda was attacked by that deadly alligator to his triumphant emergence from the swamp, This is a story of sheer grit, perseverance, and the incredible human spirit to fight through adversity. The wild doesn't give up easily, but neither does a man who refuses to back down. Thank you so much for watching this savage tale unfold. If you were as shocked and inspired by this unbelievable story as we were, make sure to smash that like button and let us know your thoughts in the comments. What did you think of Eric's fight for survival? What do you think you would have done in his shoes? We want to hear your opinions, your own wild stories, or anything you want to share. Drop a comment below. If you haven't already, now is the perfect time to subscribe and join our community of adventure seekers and wildlife enthusiasts here on Savage Tales, Animal Encounters. Every week, we bring you more jaw-dropping stories of humans and nature colliding in the most savage ways. You won't want to miss the next heart-pounding encounter. And don't forget to ring the notification bell so you're the first to know when our next insane tale drops. You won't want to miss a single episode of the wildest animal encounters out there. If you enjoyed today's video and know someone who's into crazy survival stories or the raw power of nature, make sure you share this video with them. Spread the wildness. Once again, thank you for joining us on this thrilling ride. We'll see you next time on Savage Tales, Animal Encounters, where the wild fights back.